Hi, I'm Diane Sweeney, and I'm the author of The Essential Guide for Student-Centered Coaching, Student-Centered Coaching, the Moves, Leading Student-Centered Coaching, and now our newest resource we're super excited about, which is Moves for Launching a New Year of Student-Centered Coaching. And I'd just like to spend a few minutes thinking with you about just the idea of authentic engagement. So much of a coach's time, especially early in the year, but also throughout the year, is focused on engaging teachers. And we kind of have some simple rules of thumb when it comes to this idea of just engagement in general, but also how to make engagement authentic so that we create sustainable change and so that actually our coaching makes the impact we're looking for it to make. So one thing that's just we have to admit is true is there's a widespread negative perception among teachers about coaching, unfortunately. And a lot of this goes back to the history of coaching, how coaching has been used to be very evaluative over the years, whether or not schools or systems thought they were doing that. A lot of times that's how it felt to teachers, is coaches coming in, observing them, giving them feedback, telling them how they could be doing things differently. And so this idea of the negative perception that exists among teachers about coaching is just a reality that we really have to build around and think in relationship to. So we're going to kind of give you some ideas about how to not get trapped by that negative perception. So one thing that we're always striving for is to help coaches frame their work in a way where all teachers see themselves as being coachable. And by what I mean is the idea that I, as a new teacher, can benefit from coaching. I, as a veteran teacher, can benefit from coaching, or anything in between. And so that idea of all teachers being coachable is something we refer to as an all-in culture for coaching. It's all in the sense that it is inclusive. It is for all teachers, and it doesn't select based on whether teachers are struggling or whether teachers are new, novice teachers only get coached. So we're always trying to think about this. We like to think about it in quadrants, right? Like there's these different quadrants. There's high experienced teachers, there's lower experienced teachers, there's teachers who maybe are highly involved in teacher leaders. There may be teachers who are less involved collaboratively in a school, who are not teacher leaders. That's okay too. The idea here is, how do we create the conditions where all of those different quadrants within a school community see coaching as fitting into their life, right? And one way that we always push on this is the idea of making it about student learning, and really thinking about if we make coaching about teachers' needs or teachers' abilities, I'll even say, then obviously it's going to sort of self-select. Some teachers are going to be out of that, won't need it, or won't think they need it. But if we make coaching about student learning and really use the student evidence as our guide, which is at the heart of student-centered coaching, then what we're doing is we're creating the conditions where coaching is for everyone, because everyone has students with needs in their classroom. No teacher can say that they don't have needs that they're trying to meet amongst their students. And so by partnering with teachers around goals for student learning, right away, we're creating opportunities for authentic engagement. Again, because it's not about, does a teacher need coaching? Is a teacher struggling? Instead, it's, what are your students' needs and how can we partner to help you meet those needs? So it's a very different message that we send that creates those conditions for authentic engagement. And so think about that as one really big aspect of engaging teachers. Now, all of this is going to take a lot of reframing. And by that, I mean, you're going to have people who are not going to trust that. They're going to have had historically an experience with coaching that was very much about deficit toward teachers, fixing teachers, about struggling teachers. And it's going to take some time for teachers to trust that this whole idea of making it truly about their students' needs, it's going to take some time to build trust. So, because these perceptions are very deep. So when we think then about this language of creating an all-in culture, it's kind of fun to think about it as having so many entry points with each and every teacher in your school. So not everybody needs the same thing at the same time. Not everybody, engagement doesn't mean the same thing to one teacher as it does maybe to the teacher next door. And so on our side as coaches, then we have to be able to really be responsive and to have lots of opportunities for the ways we can serve teachers through with that bigger goal of the service we're providing is truly about helping their students grow and obviously supporting them to grow as well as practitioners. So this idea of differentiating for teachers is a big piece of creating an all-in culture and creating a culture of authentic engagement. I, as one teacher, might engage in one way. I might decide I'm going to do a little lesson planning with a coach. Another teacher might decide, oh, I really need help unpacking that upcoming unit on fractions. Another teacher might think, I want to do a cycle, but I want to do it later in the year when it's a better time. Or maybe a teacher thinks, I want to test the waters with a mini coaching cycle. So those are those structures we're always talking about, really, a variety of structures for coaching so that we can create authentic engagement. And one last thing to think about when we think about authentic engagement are just to think so creatively about the ways you can provide choice to teachers. So we like to call this the 4 T's. And by that, we mean choice of time. Time is, when do you want to work with your coach? When's that unit that you want to partner with your coach on? Or when is that time when it feels most relevant to you to be coached? That's that giving teachers that choice of time. The second T that is really kind of gets at the teaching side of this is techniques. Which teaching techniques do you want to work on with your coach? So that's another huge opportunity for choice and authentic engagement. I want to work on small group instruction, or I want to work on the science of reading, or I want to work on creating some really cool stations in my high school science class. It's the techniques of teaching. Most of the time, should be left up to the teacher to make decisions around, obviously under the umbrella of whatever the district is implementing, but that second T being technique, and that's those teaching techniques. A third T is this idea of, so we have time, technique, team. Who would you like to be coached with? Who would you like to be partnering with your coach alongside? And that gets at this idea of kind of meaningful partnerships. So one teacher might think, I really want to partner with the special education teacher because I have a lot of students with IEPs in my class. Or another might think, I want to partner with my teammate next door because we already plan together anyway. Another might think, I want to just do this by myself because I really need that time to build my own capacity and my own efficacy. Another might want to work with their whole team, with their coach, and that could be through unit planning or a cycle. So that whole option of who would you like to work with, I think is important to leave up to teachers. We always say, just let the teachers create their own guest list. So the last T is task. And that really gets at the goal for the coaching cycle. So the task that the coach and teacher are engaging in together is Another thing that the teacher really identifies. So we don't set goals for teachers. We don't say, this is our work. We're here to make sure you do X with fidelity. That's really top down, and it's going to feel like coaching is being done to teachers, and their authentic engagement will go out the window. So thinking about task, what's our work together going to be, and letting that be a decision point for teachers. That's another key point. So our 4 T's are really a way, we write a lot about these in the Essential Guide for Student-Centered Coaching, and they're just a way to really think creatively about how do I provide choice and ownership to teachers. So hopefully this was helpful. And as you think about this idea of engaging teachers, getting teachers to value coaching, creating a culture for coaching in your school where folks don't feel nervous about participating, or like it's going to be a waste of their time, or that it's going to be evaluative or judgmental of them as teachers. Authentically engaging them, giving them a voice in the process, and creating that space for teachers to have their needs addressed and met, and making sure those are really student-centered needs, and we'll be fine. Thanks so much.